And we're back in Dan's immaculately kept garage for another round on the old Mini. Hello everybody, a very warm welcome back to MEC-TEC. As I said, we're in Dan's immaculately kept garage. You can tell it's not mine because you can see the floor for a start. And we are carrying on exactly where we left off in the last video. Everything is exactly as we left it. We've got the floor marked for the final cut, which we're going to probably be doing at some point very soon. But first of all, before we do anything else, we need to sort out the rear upstand and the front lower arch where the two floors join at either end. We've got to sort out those two areas because there is rust at either end, and that obviously needs sorting before we can put this main floor section in. So without further ado, let's crack on and get some work done and hopefully get this Mini with a few less holes in it. That would be nice. Right, just give you a little reminder of what's going on inside the car. As you can see, the floor is clamped in place. This is where we left off at the end of the last video. And we've run I think Dan did this off camera, he's run a black marker pen down the join there and then scribed a line in it, so obviously we get the most accurate line we can. We need to make up a little bit under here, if I remember rightly. It's been a little while since we've been working on this, so I need to remember what we've got to do. So we're going to take the floor back out, see what that needs under there. Same thing this end, see what it needs under there and how much of this upstand we've got to put in. So let's get this floor back out and then we'll show you exactly what we're going to do. Right, we have been toiling away at this for a little while now, and Dan has managed to get this upstand panel out, as you can see there. We've tried to keep it the shape it's supposed to be as such, so we can obviously use this as a template to mark out the new one. So we're going to get some cardboard on the go, do some cardboard 80 design, mark that out, and obviously get that so that the new one is exactly the same shape as this, and then that should fit in there nice. So you can see the subframe there. Subframe's in good condition on this. We think it's been changed at some point in time. If you look inside it, it's all black and that bolt is very, very clean. So that is all cut out, and what we'll do, we'll weld it in from this side, and then once the car has got all of its structure back and all the floor back in it again, then we can then take the rear subframe out and treat and seal the other side and all that sort of thing so that it stays good. So that's that end. This end, as you would have seen on a bit of time lapse there, I've cut that out. And I've actually got this panel, let me just show you under the arch there, cut all that out and cleaned it all up. I've got a little bit more to cut out in the corner there where that line is with a little Dremel, so I can get right in there. And then I need to make up a panel, something to the description of that to obviously fit in there. So we're just going to have a little cardboard 80 design session, fit all this to make it absolutely the best as we can possibly get it, and then start cutting the new bits to fit. Let's crack on. Right, there we go, a little bit of cardboard 80 design there, old cereal packet, put on the old panel there, poked a pen through the holes to obviously line them up with these holes, and then we've marked that out to obviously exactly what we've cut out, and we've put that panel back in the hole, and we've made sure that it does still fit, and we've not made the hole any bigger as such. So we're going to cut down that, I'm bang on the line now, I'm going to cut bang on that line, because that way if it is slightly too big we can still shave a little bit off of it. If we go too small then obviously it's a problem. So I'm going to get that cut and go from there. Right, there we go. There is our rear upstand panel all cut in. As you can see, we've got a nice neat gap around it, and I've got radius corners so that it's a nice weld to go right around it. Now you can see it's sticking out a little bit at the moment, but if I put a magnet on that corner there, it draws it in very nicely, and it all meets really nice with a nice little gap around it to obviously weld that in. So that is going to be the next step. We're going to get that tacked in. At the moment it's just bolted on these two subframe mount bolts. Now I've made sure, if I take that magnet back off again, that when this is bolted up it's not under any tension as far as pushing against this other panel. So all you've got to do is literally touch it with your finger and it will go back into place. So it's bang on in the right position as it sits naturally with the car on the ground. So there's no tension on this bush inside the subframe mount at all. So that is absolutely perfect, spot on, as best as I could get it. I'm going to get a magnet on that now, get some tacks on it, and hopefully get it welded in. Lovely jubbly. Right, I thought I'd do a little cutting. Dan has been busy with the welder, and as you can see there now, I think that looks blooming good to me. That's the best bit of welding this Mini's ever seen in its life. So there we go, that is that panel all welded in, absolutely top banana, lovely jubbly. While he's been doing that, I've been making up, or started to make up, a front panel to go in here. And this is the beginnings of that. That is going to go in there something like that, with a little bit of fettling here and there. And that is going to make up the bottom arch, and we've got to cut, we've got to bend the bottom here to fold underneath the new floor. So we need to get the new floor back in a little while once Dan's ground those welds down, so he's happy with them. See where it comes down to and then mark it. So we are progressing well. It is very time consuming, as you can probably imagine, which is why I haven't done too much filming, because it's taken us a long while to get to this stage. But we aren't rushing, we're taking our time, getting it right as best we can, and generally doing a good job. So that is a good thing. So there we go. Dan's pondering life at the moment. Right, I'm going to cut now and we'll carry on. We'll cut back in when we've got a bit more for you. Right, another little cutting for you. We've got the floor put in there now. Now we have done a little bit of fettling, because on the rear, if I zoom in, those two tabs that are sticking up in the air didn't meet the back, and they've been folded in the wrong place. So we've took the floor back out, flattened them out and refolded them about 4 or 5 mil further along. And now, as you can see, there's a lovely tight fit. It all fits really, really well. And also now as well, it means that there's more of an even line between this rib and the edge of the new panel. And it does actually fit really quite nice. I've only got one pair of grips on it at the moment, but all the front floor lines up with that square. Hopefully you can see that just there. And it is looking really, really good. Obviously we've got to make a piece for that bit, but that's fine. So next step now, I think, is going to be, we're going to see if we can get that front arch panel in and fettle that, aren't we, so we can fold that the right way. Yeah. And then we're going to actually cut this final cut this floor, and then probably what you're going to do, make a piece up for that little square there before you put the floor in and weld that in. Because
I might do that afterwards.
Because if you put it in before, you can then cut it in a straight line with everything else, and then have a solid bead all the way along it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that. That's first time I've mentioned that to Dan, so I've put him on the spot on camera. But it's going to need a little bit of welding in there, which you can see a little hole, and obviously there's a bigger piece we need to make for that bit there, and obviously that front piece I have started making. We just need to fettle that now. We've got the floor in to see where we need to fold the bottom tabs over. So that is going to be the next step. It is looking absolutely mega. We've done some nice welding in there, and that new bit of inner floor in there, that looks the nuts. So I'm really, really chuffed with that. I hope Dan is too. Yeah?
Yeah, it's right.
He's very critical of his own welding, and I think it looks really good, so there we go. I think that's mega. Right, let's crack on. Right, this is the final cut on the floor. Dan's going to perform the operation. We've scribed the line. Go for it, Dan, see how you get on.
So,
We'll get set up with the lights and everything else. We've cut out the rot in that middle bit as well, so that's all ready to make up a patch once the new bit of floor's in. Go on, mate,
ready?
Go for it. Got to get the light right, yeah, because otherwise you won't be able to see the scribe line, yeah.
grinder's making a shadow.
Yeah. Until Cliff Richard.
That's better. Let's cut this side of the scribe line.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
or favour that side, yeah, but you want to be pretty much bang on it, don't you? Because it's such a thin point you described it with.
If I'm gonna, I need to try and keep it.
Yeah, right side of the line, yeah. Look at that. That is mega straight. Well done, mate.
Do that front bit now.
Yep. After this is cut, this side of the car will technically be rot free. Well, almost. Floor wise, anyway.
It's a Mini, it's never going to be rot free.
Yeah, well, that's true. There is that to it. Yeah. Go. Look at that. Rot free Mini on this side. I mean, it's got no floor, but it's rot free. That's the main thing. Right, we're going to get the floor fitted back in for the umpteenth billionth time, and we'll see how we get on. Right, we have got the floor back in for about the billionth time now, as you can see. And we've also got the box section reinforcer in there, which is giving us the level. If you put a straight edge on top of the original bit onto the new bit, that gives us the level to make sure that the floor is sitting correct and flat and everything else. Dan's done a little bit of fettling along that edge, and as you can see there now, it is fitting really nicely. Now, bear in mind, this isn't clamped in at all yet. This is just sort of sitting in there as it is, and it is fitting really, really nicely. So we've got a little bit of primer on the back of this weld through primer on the back of this new panel already. We need to take it back out and just clean off a couple of little spots where we're going to plug weld through, because we've drilled some holes in the tabs on the back of this, which I'll show you once we get the panel back out. Once we get that those little spot weld bits cleaned up, then we can obviously get it back in again once the weld through primer is on the car as well, because we need to put a little bit on there. Once that's in, then we can actually start getting this tacked in, and that'll be a big milestone and hopefully a big boost to the project, because then we're not got a giant hole in the car anymore, rather than well, we'll just have a little hole in the car at the front there instead. So yeah, it's progressing really, really well. We're going to faff around with this a little bit more, and we'll come back to you when we've got a bit more progress. Right, there we go. We've got the floor section back out yet again, and as you can see, we've now got some weld through primer on the inner piece that we put in earlier today. We also drilled 3 holes for plug welds to plug weld that to the new floor section once it's in. So we'll just let that go off. As I say, weld through primer, so it can stay in there, and it'll obviously melt around the welds once we've welded it. Hopefully should give it a little bit of protection, and then obviously we're going to probably douse it in wax and whatever else as well, so it should be nice and protected. Hopefully we can get this floor tacked in very, very soon. Right, and just like that, we are now clamp free, and we've got a floor back in the Mini. Dan has done a really nice job of that, tacking all that in all the way around, as you can see. Looks absolutely mega. And that was the aim of today's sort of tech day on the Mini, was to get this to this stage and get it all tacked in. He's chuffed, look, he's got a little grin on his face, look. We're both dirty, we've both been out here all day, but we've got to the stage where it's got a floor in it again at least, and now Dan can spend a bit of time going all the way along and welding that fully in. We're just going to test fit this reinforcer once more to make sure that it actually goes in alright, and hopefully it will. Soon find out. Look at that, straight in.
Is it level though? I don't think it is at the moment.
Probably not quite level at the moment, but we may need a little bit of pressure on it to obviously push it into place, because the tabs on it on the sides have got a little bit of play in them. So it will take a little bit of fettling to get that banging level, but at least we know that it will go in and we can obviously make it fit. That is the main thing. You would have seen in the time lapse We got it all fitted, ready to weld, or rather Dan did, and he looked down the side of it and it wasn't quite sitting perfectly upright when you look down the side of the car, so he took it back out again, buzzed a little bit off the floor with the flap disc, and that sorted it out. So it probably only took about maybe 2 mil off the edge of the floor, but it was just enough to get it to sit that little bit better. So there we go, that is all in, and massive step forward and massive progress today. Absolutely top banana. Right then, that is going to be it for this episode on MEC-TEC. We have been out in the garage for a good 12 hours today, pretty much solid, and we have not stopped on this all day, and it has been a mega marathon of a day, but we got to the conclusion we wanted, which was getting that floor panel tacked in, and at least it makes it look like we've done something and we've got some good progress on the go. It's a little booster on the project for Dan as well, makes him feel like he's actually getting somewhere rather than just dredging through, cutting out rusty metal. It's horrible when you get in that stage and you can't get back out of it again. When you start putting clean, fresh metal in the car, it is a massive booster, as you would have just seen. It looks really good. Dan's well chuffed with it, I'm well chuffed with it. Bit of a joint effort. I've made up the panel, I don't know if I showed this earlier in the video, but I have made up the closing panel, which is going to go in this arch, which needs a little bit more modification, but that is there as well, so that's ready to go. Obviously in when Dan gets the rest of the